What if the kings of the savanna, the lions, suddenly woke up with our kind of mind? I'm not just talking about roaring dominance, but real strategy, foresight, and even negotiation. Lions already rule with power and incredible teamwork. They hunt in groups, defend their territories, and maintain complex family structures that are fascinating to watch. But give them human-level intelligence, and the savanna transforms from a wilderness into a kingdom in the truest sense of the word. You see, lions already stand apart from other big cats. Most are solitary hunters, but lions live in prides, sharing duties, raising cubs together, and hunting as a powerful team. With human intelligence, this social structure would become deeply political. Leaders would no longer be chosen by brute force alone. They could be elected through consensus, strategic genius, or even a respected lineage. Imagine prides with councils. The wise lionesses, experienced hunters, and dominant males, all debating when to move, where to hunt, and how to deal with rival prides. Suddenly, that iconic roar isn't just a warning, it's a declaration of policy. Their communication would be the first thing to transform. Lions already roar to mark territory, warn rivals, and coordinate their movements. With intelligence, those roars could carry incredible new layers of meaning. Coded signals, tactical messages whispered across the plains, and maybe even forms of storytelling. Can you picture it? Cubs learning their pride's history through repeated chants, each roar a line in an epic saga. Gestures, postures, and even scents would evolve into a second, more nuanced language, building a complex system of meaning that carries for miles. The lion's voice, already powerful enough to be heard 8 kilometers away, would become a tool of diplomacy and governance. And with that, culture would inevitably follow. Prides might develop unique rituals around a successful hunt, ceremonies to inaugurate new leaders, or even traditions for teaching cubs through carefully staged educational hunts. Knowledge would no longer vanish with each generation. Instead, it would accumulate. Elders could pass down complex strategies, detailed mental maps of the land, and critical lessons learned from encounters with humans. Over decades, prides could develop distinct cultural identities. Some might become known as fierce conquerors, expanding their territory aggressively, while others could become wise negotiators, forming stable alliances with neighboring prides to ensure mutual prosperity. Now, let's talk numbers. There are only about 20,000 lions left in the wild, scattered across Africa and a small part of Asia. That might seem small compared to humanity's billions, but when every single one of those 20,000 has human-level intelligence, each becomes a powerful player in its ecosystem. A single pride already controls a vast territory. Now, multiply that influence by strategic intelligence, and you have something closer to a network of interconnected kingdoms. Lions could coordinate across hundreds of kilometers, turning scattered, isolated groups into a continental alliance with a shared purpose. Hunting would no longer be instinctive chaos. We already know lions are brilliant ambush predators, driving prey into traps with coordinated movements. With human intelligence, they could plan entire campaigns. Herds of antelope would be tracked like opposing armies. Waterholes could be turned into siege points. The great migrations would be mapped with terrifying foresight. Lions might even begin to practice a form of game management, deliberately sparing certain herds one season to ensure food remains abundant for the next. Hunting would stop being about random survival and would become a calculated agricultural policy, a perfect balance of predation and patience. And what about innovation? This is where it gets really interesting. Lions don't have our hands, but intelligence doesn't stop at building tools. They could learn to manipulate their environment. Imagine them using naturally occurring brush fires as a hunting tactic, masterfully driving panicked prey into open ground. They might learn to roll boulders to block escape routes, arrange elaborate ambush sites, or even form strategic alliances with other species. Hyenas, once bitter rivals, could become subordinates in a negotiated deal, protection in exchange for a share of the kill. Vultures could be followed strategically. their flight patterns used as a reliable signal leading prides to fresh kills with calculated precision. The savanna would transform into a living chessboard, with the lions as its undisputed grandmasters. So, how would we, humanity, feel this change? The answer is quickly. Farmers already clash with lions when livestock is taken. But with intelligence, these lions would stop raiding blindly. They might plan coordinated strikes, test our defenses, and target resources with deliberate intent. Villages could be pressured, not just through violence, but through negotiation. Imagine a lion pride sending signals, roaring near a village night after night until a tribute is paid, livestock surrendered as a kind of tax, guaranteeing safety in exchange. Some communities would undoubtedly resist. Others, however, might adapt, treating lions not as simple beasts but as dangerous, intelligent neighbors with their own set of demands. Of course, this conflict wouldn't be one-sided. Humanity would push back with our advanced weapons, vehicles, and fences. But lions with human intelligence would learn far faster than we expect. They could figure out how to sabotage fences, memorize patrol schedules, and retreat strategically into the wilderness. They would become the ultimate guerrilla fighters of the savanna, using their natural stealth and patience to counter our overwhelming technology. And unlike us, they wouldn't need infrastructure or complex supply lines. Their bodies are already weapons, and their environment is already their fortress. But it wouldn't all be war. Some prides might see the long-term benefit in partnership. Farmers could strike deals, safety for their families and homes in exchange for regular livestock offerings. Ecotourism could transform into something closer to diplomacy, where prides allow humans to observe them in exchange for legal protection of their territory and resources. In a surprising twist, lions might even become guardians of their ecosystems, regulating prey populations in ways that actually align with our own conservation goals. They could choose to manage the savanna alongside us, not against us, but only if we proved ourselves trustworthy partners. The ecology of the savanna itself would bend to their will. Intelligent lions could completely reshape predator-prey dynamics. They might restrain their own hunting to prevent the collapse of a favorite prey species, or even redirect prey migrations to stabilize water sources for everyone. Weaker predator species like leopards and wild dogs could be pushed to extinction or forced into subordinate roles. The savanna would cease to be a wild ecosystem and become a carefully managed empire, where every animal's fate would depend on the policies decided in the lion councils. And then there's the long view, the thing that truly sets them apart. Lions live for about 12 to 15 years in the wild, sometimes longer. With intelligence, knowledge could pass from one generation to the next, creating powerful lineages of wisdom. Each pride would accumulate a vast memory of droughts, human conflicts, great migrations, and successful strategies. A cub born today could grow up learning not only from its own instincts but from centuries of accumulated knowledge, preserved and retold by the pride's elders. This collective memory would give lions something we humans often lack: immense patience. While we measure progress in years or fiscal quarters, intelligent lions could measure it in lifetimes, always remembering the hard-won lessons that we so often forget. Ultimately, the scariest part isn't the claws or the roar, it's the strategy. Lions with human intelligence would be predators that choose when to fight, when to wait, and when to strike deals. They could build invisible kingdoms, ruling the savanna not just through muscle, but through diplomacy, patience, and memory. So the real question is this: if lions had a human IQ, would they remain the kings of the wild? Or would they become the kings of us as well? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.